The report lay open on General Marcus Hayes' desk, its pages scattered across the mahogany surface like fallen leaves after a battle. Each page told an impossible story. Each statistic defied military doctrine. Each after-action report described something that shouldn't exist. Every civilization the Hegemony has encountered fell within 72 hours. He read aloud from the intercepted alien intelligence brief. His voice carried the weight of 3 decades in uniform, from second lieutenant to 4-star general. Not one species has resisted past the initial orbital bombardment phase. He looked up from the documents toward the shattered windows of what had once been the Pentagon's most secure briefing room. Through the reinforced glass he could see the Washington Monument still standing, still defiant against the alien-scarred sky. So why, 6 months after their successful conquest of Earth, are human military forces achieving tactical victories at a rate that's increasing daily? The question hung in the morning air like smoke from distant battles. Behind him, the wall-mounted display showed global tactical updates streaming in real time. Green markers indicated successful operations. There were a lot of green markers. General Hayes picked up the first report in the Star joint operation from 3 days ago that should have been impossible. The Denver PAR Duex from the personal log of Colonel James Mitchell, United States, Army Day 187 post-invasion location, former Buckley Air Force Base. Denver. The aliens thought they understood human military doctrine. They'd monitored our communications, studied our tactics, cataloged our equipment specifications. What they didn't understand was why Staff Sergeant Tony Santos was sharing his last 2 magazines with an Air Force pilot whose name he didn't even know. Be sure about this, Santos, Captain Rodriguez asked, hefting the unfamiliar Army rifle. His flight suit was torn, his F-35 a smoking crater 3 miles behind enemy lines, but his hands moved across the weapon with professional competence. We're all Americans here, Sir Santos replied, adjusting the sights for him. Marines taught me to shoot, Army taught me to think, but America taught me to fight for my brothers. I watched this exchange through my scope from an overwatch position, documenting what command would later classify as impossible tactical cooperation. According to standard doctrine, Santos should have conserved ammunition for his own units. Survival according to the American way. He was doing exactly what any warrior would do for his brothers in arms. The alien position we were assaulting had been designated impregnable by their own tactical assessment. Standard defensive protocols. Overlapping fields of fire. Sufficient reserves to repel 3 times our numbers. What their protocols hadn't accounted for was Rodriguez using his pilot's knowledge of aerospace engineering to calculate the exact structural weakness in their defensive barriers, or Santos providing covering fire while Navy Corpsman Williams somehow attached to our Army unit treated wounded Air Force personnel under enemy fire. All units, this is Bravo Actual. I called into my headset. Execute breach protocol. Air Force provides structural analysis. Navy provides medical support. Army provides fire and movement. Marines provide motivation. The assault lasted 14 minutes. When the smoke cleared, we'd eliminated a heavily fortified alien position using tactics that existed nowhere in any manual, coordinated by personnel from 4 different service branches who'd met for the first time 6 hours earlier. Santos stood over the destroyed alien command post, reloading Rodriguez's rifle now. Since Rodriguez had been promoted to squad machine gunner despite being a pilot. Williams emerged from the bunker complex, somehow having converted alien medical equipment to treat human casualties. The Marines just grinned and asked what we were attacking next. So Santos called to me as we established a defensive perimeter. The aliens left behind some intelligence data. Looks like they're having trouble understanding our pack coordination. I walked over to where he stood beside a still functioning alien display. The text was in their flowing script, but the tactical diagrams were universal. They showed human unit effectiveness ratings over time. The graphs made no sense. Human combat effectiveness was supposed to decrease as casualties mounted, as ammunition was expended, as units became separated from their command structure. Instead, the alien data showed the opposite. Isolated human units were fighting with greater coordination. Mixed service groups were achieving tactical results that exceeded the sum of their individual capabilities. They think we're malfunctioning, Rodriguez observed, reading over my shoulder. Maybe we are, I replied. But it's working. Asterisk from the personal journal of Admiral Robert Chen. Pacific Fleet Command Day 203 post-invasion location, USS Constitution, Pacific Ocean. The distress call came in at 0347 hours Mayday. Mayday. This is Army Forward Operating Base Charlie 7. We are under sustained alien attack. Request immediate naval gunfire support. Coordinates follow. My operations officer looked up from his console with professional confusion. Admiral FOB Charlie 7 is 40 miles inland. We can't provide naval gunfire support to a position that far from the coast. I studied the tactical display showing our ship's position relative to the Army base, 43 miles inland, protected by alien air defenses that would shred any helicopter attempting extract. Standard doctrine said we couldn't help, but the distress call had come from Colonel David Park, who had saved my son's Marine unit during the initial invasion. Math said we couldn't reach him. Brotherhood said we had to try. All ahead flank, I ordered. Take us a priva, sir. The Constitution draws 32 feet. The Columbia River's depth is, take us a priva, commander. American soldiers are dying. What followed was the most audacious naval maneuver in recorded history. The USS Constitution, a guided missile cruiser designed for deep ocean warfare, navigating 43 miles up the Columbia River system to provide fire support for an isolated Army position. We ran aground twice. Our sonar operator guided us through waters that shouldn't have been navigable by anything larger than a patrol boat. Our gunnery officer calculated firing solutions for targets he couldn't see, relying on coordinates provided by Army spotters using equipment he'd never trained with. Constitution. This is Charlie 7. Colonel Park's voice crackled through our communications system as our 5-inch guns found their range. Outstanding shooting break. We've got wounded who need immediate medical attention, but our corpsman is KIA. Charlie 7. Constitution. We're sending our medical team ashore. Negative. Constitution. Area is too hot for landing. I looked at my ship's doctor, Lieutenant Commander Robert Williams, who was already strapping on body armor he'd borrowed from our Marine detachment. Doctor, you don't have combat training. Admiral, they're Americans, I'll learn. 6 hours later, our ship's medical team was operating an aid station inside an Army perimeter, treating soldiers while learning urban combat tactics from rangers who'd never been on a ship. Our gunners provided precision fire support directed by Army forward observers who'd never worked with naval gunfire. When the shooting stopped and we extracted our people, Colonel Park's final transmission summed up everything the aliens couldn't understand. Constitution. This is Charlie 7. Mission accomplished. Thank you for reminding us that no American fights alone. From the classified debriefing of Master Chief Petty Officer Jake Morrison. Navy SEALs Day 221 post-invasion location. Classified. The alien commander we captured kept asking the same question. Why do your units share resources when it decreases individual survival probability? I tried explaining it a dozen different ways. How Marines will give their last round to a soldier. How Air Force pilots will risk their lives to extract Navy personnel. How Army Rangers will hold a position so that other services can complete their missions. The alien just didn't get it. Your tactical doctrine is inefficient, he insisted. Each unit should optimize for its own survival. This maximizes overall force effectiveness. Chief, interrupted Captain Rodriguez, the same pilot from the Denver operation. Now somehow permanently attached to our SEAL team. I think I know how to explain it. Rodriguez pulled out his phone and showed the alien a picture. 20 guys, in different uniforms, standing around a barbecue grill at some backyard gathering. Marines, sailors, soldiers, airmen, all drinking beer and giving each other shit about their respective services. See this? Rodriguez pointed to the photo. These guys have been to each other's weddings. They know each other's kids. When Sergeant Martinez here got divorced, half the Air Force helped him move. When Petty Officer Johnson's dad died, Marines from 3 states showed up for the funeral. The alien studied the photo with those large, unblinking eyes. We don't fight for the uniform, Rodriguez continued. We fight for each other. Santos doesn't give his ammo to some random Air Force guy. He gives it to Rodriguez, who bought his daughter a birthday present last month. Admiral Chen doesn't risk his ship for some Army unit. He risks it for Colonel Park, whose son served with Chen's boy in Kandahar. This is ... inefficient, the alien repeated, but with less certainty. Maybe, I said, but it's why you're sitting in a holding cell on Earth instead of flying around the galaxy conquering planets. Master Chief Morrison was right, but he only saw part of the picture. The real answer was in the files General Hayes had been reading of after-action reports that all told the same story. Asterisk from the personal files of General Marcus Hayes. Day 247 post-invasion location. Pentagon War Room. I finally understood what made us different when I read Staff Sergeant Mike Thompson's after-action report from the Battle of Phoenix. Thompson was Army-designated marksman, 3rd Infantry Division. His unit had been overrun, his officers were dead, and he was alone in alien-occupied territory with a broken radio and 17 rounds of ammunition. Standard survival doctrine. Evade, escape, survive to fight another day. Thompson's decision: assault a heavily fortified alien position because he could hear Americans calling for help inside. I knew the voices, he wrote in his report. Corporal Davis from the Marines, Airman Rodriguez from the Air Force, Petty Officer Kim from the Navy. I'd met them during joint exercises 2 years ago. Davis had beaten me at poker. Rodriguez had helped me fix my truck. Kim had shown me pictures of his newborn son. Thompson's solo assault should have been suicide. Instead, it triggered a chain reaction that liberated half of Phoenix. Davis, freed from alien captivity, immediately organized the surviving prisoners into a combat unit. Rodriguez used his knowledge of Air Force frequencies to re-establish communications with orbiting aircraft. Kim, despite being Navy, somehow hot-wired alien ground vehicles and turned them into mobile weapons platforms. Within 6 hours, a scattered collection of service members from different branches had created an impromptu combined arms task force that operated with precision that impressed even veteran commanders. The aliens' own intelligence reports, captured during the Phoenix operation, showed their complete bewilderment. Human military efficiency paradox continues. Isolated personnel increase combat effectiveness when exposed to members of alternate service branches. Recommend further study of human pack bonding behavior. Pack bonding. They thought we were animals following some primitive instinct. They were right, in a way, but they missed the most important part. The pack we'd bonded with was America itself. Asterisk. Continuation of General Hayes' files. Day 280. Post-invasion reports kept coming, and they all told variations of the same impossible story. Air Force Captain Lisa Martinez crashed in alien territory. Instead of evading to safety, she spent 3 days providing close air support for a surrounded Marine platoon using nothing but a survival radio and flares to mark targets for distant F-16s. Navy Commander David Torres abandoned his submarines, the patrol route to surface in broad daylight and extract Army Rangers from a failed insertion. When questioned about the tactical decision, his response was simple. They were Americans. We don't leave Americans behind. Marine Gunnery Sergeant Robert Kim held a choke point for 18 hours against overwhelming alien forces, not to protect his own unit. They had already been evacuated. He held the position so that Air Force personnel could repair damaged aircraft and continue close air support missions. Each report violated standard military doctrine. Each decision prioritized the survival of other services over unit preservation. Each action should have resulted in tactical failure. Instead, human forces were winning engagements. They had no business surviving. The alien intelligence assessments grew increasingly frustrated. Human combat doctrine appears to be based on emotional rather than logical considerations. Units consistently sacrifice tactical advantage to assist non-affiliated personnel. This behavior defies all known military theory. Recommend immediate psychological analysis of human command structure. Standard conquest protocols assume rational self-preservation instincts. Humans appear to lack this basic survival mechanism. Warning: human military effectiveness increases exponentially when multiple service branches are present. Recommend isolation tactics to prevent inter-service cooperation. That last recommendation made me smile. The aliens had finally figured out our secret weapon. We fought better together than apart, but they still didn't understand why. Asterisk. Final analysis. From General Hayes. Day 365. Post-invasion location. Pentagon. Reconstruction complete 1 year later. The alien Hegemony has withdrawn from Earth's solar system. Their final transmission, broadcast on all frequencies, was a formal notice that Earth had been classified as a protected world, and was being inducted into their confederation as a military ally. We'd won not through superior technology or numbers, but through something the Hegemony had never encountered in their 1,000 years of conquest, a military bound together by something stronger than doctrine or duty. Brotherhood. I kept thinking about all those after-action reports. Every single one told the same story. Americans from different services throwing away individual survival chances to save each other. Army giving their lives for Navy, Air Force sacrificing missions to extract Marines, Navy abandoning safe positions to support soldiers. It made no tactical sense. It violated every principle of force preservation and resource allocation. That it was also why we won. The aliens had studied our individual services and seen weaknesses. They saw competition between branches. They observed different training, different equipment, different cultures, and concluded that human military forces were fragmented and inefficient. What they failed to understand was that all those differences existed within a single family. We might argue about who has the best training. Marines insisting they're the toughest. Army claiming they're the most versatile. Air Force bragging about their technology. Navy proud of their traditions. We might compete for budgets, missions, and recognition. But when someone threatens any part of the American military family, those differences disappear. The Marine stops being a Marine, and the soldier stops being a soldier. The sailor stops being a sailor, and the airman stops being an airman. They all become Americans, and Americans don't abandon Americans. Ever. From General Hayes' personal journal. Day 400. Post-invasion Arlington National Cemetery. Today the first attended the dedication of a new memorial. Not to any single service, but to the joint operations that had defined the war. The inscription, carved in black granite, read simply, "In memory of American warriors who proved that the strength of the wolf is the pack, and the strength of the pack is the wolf. Different uniforms, same heart, same fight, same victory." As I watched the ceremony, I saw something that would have amazed the aliens who'd studied us so carefully. Marines stood at attention while Army officers spoke. Air Force pallbearers carried Navy heroes to their final rest. Coast Guard personnel saluted fallen Space Force guardians. But what struck me most was the families, Gold Star mothers from every service standing together, sharing grief and pride in equal measure. Children too young to understand the uniforms, but old enough to know their parents had died as heroes. Veterans from 5 different services, united by the simple knowledge that they'd all served America. The final speaker was Master Chief Morrison, the SEAL who'd interrogated that alien commander months ago. His words were simple and direct. The aliens studied our weapons, our tactics, our technology. They analyzed our training, our doctrine, our equipment. They thought they understood what makes American forces effective, but they missed the most important thing. They missed what every American service member learns on their first day in uniform. You're not just joining the Army, or the Navy, or the Air Force, or the Marines. You're joining a family that's been defending freedom for over 200 years. A family that includes every American who's ever worn the uniform. From Valley Forge to Afghanistan, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, from the wild blue yonder to the depths of the ocean. When you attack one of us, you attack all of us. When you threaten one branch, you face all branches. When you try to divide us, you only make us stronger. That's what the aliens never understood. That's what our enemies have never understood. We don't just serve our country, we serve each other. Intercepted transmission from Hegemony High Command Day 500 post-invasion. Final piece of the puzzle came 5 months later, when our intelligence services intercepted a classified Hegemony transmission. It was a strategic assessment being sent to all conquest fleets, warning them about humanity, species designation, human planet, Earth's All-3 classification, extreme caution military ally status initial invasion assessment, successful orbital bombardment, ground forces deployed, major population centers occupied, resistance eliminated within standard time frame. Actual result, complete withdrawal of all Hegemony forces, planet designated as protected world, species granted full military alliance status. Analysis of tactical failure, human military doctrine, is based on principles unknown to Hegemony strategic theory. Individual units consistently sacrifice tactical advantage to assist personnel from other service branches. This behavior, initially assessed as primitive pack bonding, has been re-evaluated as sophisticated strategic doctrine. Key findings: human combat effectiveness increases exponentially when multiple service branches operate. Together, individual survival instincts are subordinated to group preservation across service lines. Standard isolation tactics fail because humans will sacrifice themselves to prevent isolation of other units. Morale remains high even under catastrophic losses due to inter-service support mechanisms. Leadership structure allows unprecedented tactical flexibility through cross-branch cooperation. Conclusion: human military culture represents evolutionary advancement in warfare doctrine. Recommend immediate study for potential adoption by Hegemony forces. Warning to all conquest fleets: Earth humans have achieved military integration that makes them unsuitable for standard conquest protocols. Species demonstrates combat capabilities that exceed technological indicators due to social cohesion factors. Addendum: request from Hegemony, Strategic Command for human military advisors to assist in development of similar integration protocols has been declined. Human response: what you're asking for can't be taught. It can only be earned. It can only be lived. It can only be American. End transmission. General Hayes, concluding assessment day 550 post-invasion Pentagon War Room 6 months ago. I received a final communication from the Hegemony's Supreme Command. It was a simple request. Would Earth consider providing military advisors to help other species develop similar inter-service cooperation? I smiled as I drafted our response. Negative. What you're asking for can't be taught. It can only be earned. It can only be lived. It can only be American. Because that's the truth the aliens never understood, and that our enemies throughout history have never understood. American military supremacy doesn't come from our technology, though it's the finest ever made. It doesn't come from our tactics, though they're studied in military academies across the galaxy now. It doesn't even come from our individual courage, though American warriors have always been second to none. It comes from something much simpler and much more powerful. It comes from the fact that American service members, regardless of branch, regardless of rank, regardless of mission, all understand one fundamental truth: no American fights alone. That Marine sharing his ammunition with a soldier isn't following doctrine, he's following his heart. That sailor risking his ship for an army unit isn't executing a tactical plan, he's protecting his family. That pilot abandoning his mission to extract wounded Marines isn't making a strategic decision, he's doing what Americans do: he's refusing to leave his brothers behind. The aliens studied our military and saw 5 separate services with different cultures, different missions, different traditions. They saw division where they should have seen diversity. They saw weakness where they should have seen strength. What they were actually looking at was the most powerful military force in galactic history, a force united not by command structure or tactical doctrine, but by the simple understanding that every person wearing an American uniform is part of the same family, and family never abandons family today. As I watched joint training exercises where Marines learn Air Force tactics, where sailors coordinate with soldiers, where every service teaches the others their specialized skills, I know we've discovered something more valuable than any alien technology. We've discovered that the greatest military force in the galaxy isn't made of ships or weapons or advanced tactics. It's made of Americans who refuse to let each other fight. Alone, the aliens came looking for another conquest. Instead, they found out why Americans call each other brothers, and brothers don't abandon brothers. Ever. Asterisk. From the dedication ceremony at the Joint Service Memorial 2 years post-invasion speaker, General Marcusez, they asked me to speak about the secret of American military success, about what made us different from every other species the hegemony had encountered. The answer isn't in our weapons, though they're the finest ever made. It isn't in our tactics, though they're taught in military academies across the galaxy now. It isn't even in our individual courage, though American warriors have always been second to none. The answer is in this crowd. Look around you. Marines standing with soldiers, sailors beside airmen, Coast Guard next to Space Force, different uniforms, different traditions, different missions, same oath, same flag, same willingness to die for each other. The aliens studied our military branches and saw division. They saw competition. They saw weakness. They were wrong. What they saw were the individual fingers of a clenched fist. Strong alone, unstoppable together. What they faced was 2.5 centuries of American military tradition that teaches every warrior, regardless of service, that no American fights alone. That's our secret. That's our strength. That's why the flag behind me flies over a free earth today. Not because we were stronger than our enemies, but because we were stronger together than apart. Not because we had better weapons, but because we had better brothers. Today we honor those who proved that the United States military isn't just an army, or a navy, or an air force, or Marines. We're a family, and family never leaves family behind. As General Hayes stepped away from the podium, the crowd stood in silence. Then, from somewhere in the back, a single voice began singing. From the Halls of Montezuma, ... Asterisk, other voices joined in, but not just Marines. Soldiers added their voices to the Marine Corps hymn. Sailors and airmen sang along. By the time they reached, we are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Every service member in the crowd was singing not their own songs, but each other's. When the Marine Corps hymn ended, someone started Anchors Aweigh. Then the Army song, then the Air Force song. Each service sang not just their own hymn, but every hymn. Each warrior honored not just their own branch, but every branch. That was the moment the alien observers finally understood. Americans didn't just serve their own branch, they served all of them. They served each other, they served America, and that made them unbeatable in the final analysis. The aliens had asked the wrong question. They'd wanted to know what made American military forces effective. The real question was simpler. What that happens when you threaten a family? The answer, written in the stars above Earth and in the hearts of every American warrior, was simple too. You find out what Americans mean when they say brothers in arms, and you learn why that brotherhood has never been broken, never been defeated, and never will be. Because some bonds are stronger than death, some oaths are deeper than duty, and some families are worth fighting for, no matter the odds.
Welcome, traveler. We're glad you're here. Every story you hear is made with care and passion. If you enjoy it, please like, subscribe, and check out the other adventures waiting for you on our channel. Your support means the world. Thank you. We hope you enjoy the story.
Humanity Galactic Frontiers, all rights reserved. This video and its contents are protected under international copyright law. Any unauthorized copying, distribution, or re-uploading is strictly prohibited without written permission. If you enjoyed this journey, please like the video and subscribe for more stories from the edge of the galaxy. Thanks for watching, and stay curious out there among the stars.